This is going to be a review of new construction sales for those of you who are builders trying to build residential properties. And this is going to be review for North Texas region. I'm going to review 15 counties today, just to see where they are on median sale prices, days in the market, month supply, and so on and so forth. Just to let you know, this is the first time I'm using the new construction data. I do not know how the MLS really knows if it's new construction or not. Maybe it knows by year built. Maybe it sees the designation as builder or status incomplete, complete. I don't know. So for me, I cannot vouch for this data being 100% accurate just because I don't know how it's collected or how the MLS knows what's new construction and what's not. That's my little disclosure, so let's go ahead and get started. The first 4 counties that we're going to look at are going to be Dallas, Collin, Denton, and Tarrant County. Now, please be aware that if you don't know Dallas area too much, there are some areas that are very built out, means that there is almost no land left to build on, and there are some areas with plenty of land to build on. So the data might look a little weird just because there's less data for some counties than others. Okay, let's run. We have the median sale price for residential buildings, single family, 3 to 4 bedrooms, new construction. What I'm seeing right now is that we're going to ignore for right now this big bulge right here because that's 2020, 2021, 2022, where we had the interest rates at 2% to 3% interest rate. Those days are long gone. So let's take a look at the performance of the new construction after the interest rate started to come up. This is the 2024 year, 2024. So what we can observe right now is that we started the year at a pretty even, pretty kind of even performance. As you can see, for let's just say the gray one is the Tarrant County, pretty even performance. The blue is the Dallas County, a little bit more up and down, but that's because there is less data, and therefore, when you have fewer houses, the data is more choppy. Then we have Denton County. You can see again pretty even performance on the eve of 2024, and then it's starting to become a little bit more of choppy water, so to speak. And then Collin County, look at the performance of Collin County in June of 2023, from June of 2023, plummeting all the way to October 2024. This is a pretty big drop. The houses being built in Collin County at in 2023 were 550-ish. And now look at those prices. I don't even know how those prices are available in, I guess it might be Collin County being counted now as Princeton or some areas around Princeton, because those prices are definitely not the Collin County type of prices. But overall, what you can see is a drastic reduction in more expensive homes being built in Collin County, and there's probably a reason for that. So what we're seeing is that we can now observe overall price trend. And overall price trend is that, let's take a look at county by county. Collin County, the worst performance of them all for right now in terms of just pricing on those homes. So for those builders who build expensive lots, to build expensive homes, I'm not sure how it's going to play out for them. Okay, this is for Collin County. Let's look at the Dallas County, which is the blue line. Dallas County started the year a little choppy. It became a little bit more smooth, but again, what looks to me is that the prices were higher. We're coming down, like if we create a straight line, right? If we start here at the peak and we create a straight line, that straight line is pretty deep, cutting pretty deep down. But nevertheless, what we're seeing for this year is that we had our ups and downs, but overall the pricing of the new construction home that are being built seems to be decreasing. Now let's take a look at the Denton County, which is a light blue line. Light green line. So this is our December 2023. This is the beginning of 2024. Now what I'm seeing for Denton County is an opposite trend from other counties. So Denton County is showing the best performance for new construction so far, simply because we're starting at a slightly lower level, and then we're going up, kind of leveling back down, and then going back up again. So as you can see, the best performance of them all is actually on the north side of the DFW in the Denton County. And let's look at the Tarrant County. What's interesting about Tarrant County to me is that starting from about January 2023, so for the last 2 years, the performance been almost a straight line. So if you take it from here all the way to here, it's a slight increase, but it's overall a flat line, which tells me that for right now, the Tarrant County, also, if you look at the pricing, like look at the average pricing for all of the counties. Let's go to our day. The average prices for all of the counties shows that Tarrant County is the most affordable county. They're close to Dallas, but overall they're more affordable one. And it seems to me that they've been building these affordable homes at $370,000+ for the last 2 years, and the prices continue to stay pretty flat rather than having this jagged performance or declining performance like they did in other places. Let's take a look at the month supply. Month supply to show you how much saturation there is in the market. Now, what we're observing is that for our new construction homes, our month supply are actually performing better than they did in 2022. So it seems like in 2022 we had a little bit of traffic jam in terms of unsold properties for new construction. And then since then, except for Dallas, that traffic jam really eased up, and we're now at an actually not a too bad of a place compared to where we were in October 2022. So from that, I can tell that even though the prices continue to decline, the saturation has not been really that bad for 2024. The only exception being Dallas County. In the Dallas County, we see that the saturation is about 2 months more of inventory than for the rest of the counties, which tells me that building in Dallas County might run into issues where you are having too many new construction buildings and not enough buyers to buy that new construction. Let's take a look now. Month supply is a combination of two factors: the number of unsold homes versus the number of sold homes for the same period of time, which allows us to take unsold homes, active homes divided by sold homes. So this is how we get the months of supply. So let's take a look at the components of this formula. Homes for sale. So what we can see is that despite having a pretty muted saturation in Collin County actually generated the highest number of homes that were put for sale during this time. And we can see that Dallas is actually one of the smallest one. So the month supply does not necessarily reflect the number of homes for sale. It just reflects the relationship between the number of the offer and the demand, the supply and the demand side. So on the supply side, the Collin County is leading the supply side, while the rest of the counties are kind of running together in a tightly packed group right here. But what you can also observe is that the number of homes in Collin County increased dramatically and outpaced the number of homes available for sale, unsold homes, new construction, that were available in November 2022, our highest point up until now. At the same time, what we see the opposite trend happening in Denton County and in Tarrant County. So in Denton County and in Tarrant County, especially in Denton, where we see the green line, we can see that their highest number of traffic jam was in November, and then it actually eased compared to, let's just say, Collin County. So from a standpoint of homes for sale, we can see that we have traffic jam altogether at the same time. Collin County generated a huge number of homes. Denton County generated a smaller number of homes. The traffic jam eased, while the traffic jam here actually got worse. As far as Tarrant County, the Tarrant County had a similar performance to, so this is the light gray line, similar performance somewhat to Denton County, only right now they continue to decrease at even more rapid place. So their traffic jam is easing even faster than Denton County. And in Dallas County, which is the blue line, started less than everybody else, simply because they were pretty built out in, the beginning of the pandemic. Then somehow they found new land. I'm not sure how that happened, but some new land accidentally got discovered in Dallas County. And look at that, we shot up compared to our performance in 2022. And now we are pretty high for the Dallas County. So that just tells me that if you're trying to build in Dallas County, just be aware that the supply of unsold homes that are new construction in Dallas County is the highest since it's been in many, many years, probably for the first since the time that it started to record. Now that was the supply side. Let's look at the demand for new construction homes. Okay. Now we see the same traffic jam that we talked about. No, the traffic jam was here. So this was the demand right here. This is why the traffic jam occurred. Look that the demand is actually smaller in 2022, at the end of 2022, than it is now. Now, what can we say about the trajectory of demand for right now? We see that the demand was the highest in Collin County up until some time, and now it's evening out. The demand means sold homes. So we see that 2024 was actually pretty kind, pretty good for Collin County builders. So from that standpoint, we can say that if you're going to build in Collin County, chances of continued and steady demand, probably due to the ISDs, the Plano ISD, the Frisco ISD that are available in there, is stimulating buyer activity more than it does in all other counties. While we see a very declining demand for homes in new construction homes in, for example, Denton County. So in Denton County, we had a big spike, which culminated in March. So it seems to me that we had low demand at the beginning of the year in January. Then from January, we spiked to March. I don't know what happened. Maybe there was like an interest rate reduction. I don't remember what was going on at that time. But I noted that after March, it's been downward from there for Denton County at least. Slightly similar or very similar situation for Tarrant County, which is light gray. And we can see that in Tarrant County, the peak came a little bit later. The peak came in May, but it's still been downward from there for Tarrant County as well. Let's look at the Dallas County supply demand. Demand, similarly to what we expected, what we observed in other counties, demand peaked around April, dropped precipitously till June. So nobody was thinking about buying homes right in the middle of it when everybody was buying homes for some reason. And then it picked up back in August. So you can see that the trend actually got buckled quite a bit over here. Now, what we're also observing is that all months, all counties have observed a slight uptick in demand in September. Now, remember that September closings were probably written 1 to 2 months prior. So even though we see an uptick in closings in September, chances are those buyers did not walk into the builder's office in September. Chances are those contracts were just coming up due, and they had more than an average number of homes that were slated to be finished in September. And then noted that for all counties other than Collin, we see a pretty precipitous decline again, as if in September they got a whole bunch of houses being finished up, and then it's like, okay, we're done for the holidays. But what we're seeing right now is that Collin County is the outstanding performer in terms of a sustained demand. Last but not least, let's take a look at the percentage of original price, which means that if you're planning to sell, let's just say your property at 500, how much are you actually expecting to get in terms of the actual price at closing? Let's take a look. So we can see that 100% means the builder gets the actual asking price for the property. But what we're observing for right now is that the highest percentage that builders been getting in 2024 has been about 96 to 98%. So 2 to 4%, 2 to 5% below where they expected to be. And that was at the busiest time, which is March, April, and May. And now we're even below those levels. Now we are at anywhere between 93 to 96%, 97%. So what does that tell you as a builder? It tells you that if you want to properly estimate your sale price for that particular build, make sure to remember that whatever you want to price it at, you're probably going to end up selling it, especially if it's in the winter months, at anywhere between 5 and 7% below where you want to be. So just keep it in mind that you are most likely going to end up with multiple price reductions and an even bigger negotiation. Now, what we do not see in this particular chart is those are just the prices, the pure prices. It doesn't reflect the amount of money the builder needed to spend on upgrades or on throwing in, appliances, giving the money toward closing, the bonuses to the realtors, the whole 9 yards. We don't see that impact here. All we see is prices. So this was our performance for Dallas, Collin, Denton, and Kent County. So let's go ahead and do couple of others. So let's go ahead and look at Hunt. Let's go ahead and look at Ellis, Kaufman, and let's just say, actually not Ellis, let's do Navarro right here. So Hunt, Navarro, Kaufman, and let's just say Henderson. Okay, let's reset. We still have residential, single family, 3 to 4 bedrooms, new construction. Okay, so what do we see in terms of sale prices for these counties right now? Let's take a look. What's interesting is that this little spike is kind of wreaking havoc on our data, making it very hard to observe. Let's see if we can do just 1 year, so it's easier to see. So what we're seeing for 1 year performance is that the smoothest ride, smoothest means most predictable pricing, seems to be in Kaufman County right here, which is in light green. The second smoothest ride seems to be in Hunt County, as you can see. And when I say smooth, it means instead of doing this rapid up and down, we're seeing a pretty smooth performance in prices. Now, possibly because we just have more data points for sales for those counties, creating less jagged performance. But nevertheless, we can predict that for example, in Kaufman County and in Hunt County, we had a pretty steady and muted performance for the entire year. The peak in pricing seemed to have been in, this is October 2024, okay, hold on. Peak in pricing this year for Kaufman was in May, and peak pricing in Hunt was in March, so very early, literally right after the holidays. So maybe those were the contracts that the builders made right before Christmas that finally closed in those months. Now, let's observe that our Henderson County performance is much more jagged, but absent this very surprising peak, which might have been just a certain subdivision selling a couple of really large homes, like big ticket homes. Overall, if we ignore this hump, it's a pretty steady performance, declining. It's a declining performance for them overall on price. And I'm looking at this gray colored graphs right now. So what we're seeing is that we had a peak, obviously, in February. Again, maybe just homes closing that went under the contract before during the holidays. And then the prices continue to decline overall. And then finally, the Navarro County, which is in red, again, we have jagged performance. But overall, if we remove these valleys, which might indicate that we just didn't have any sale data for that point, if we kind of smooth out that line, we're going to create a slight downward line with a little bit of an uptick in July and then surprisingly sharp downfall. So if I was to predict in which of those counties would be the safest performance to predict pricing, I would probably pick Kaufman County for right now, and I would probably pick Hunt County as far as steady performance on pricing. Let's take a look on months of supply. For the months of supply, which means saturation, the number of unsold homes divided by the number of sold homes, we see that Navarro County had the largest number of months of supply for new construction homes. they have 10 months of inventory, which means if no new homes were added on the market by the builders in the next 10 months, it would take 10 months for the entire current inventory to be finally absorbed in Navarro. The situation is significantly better in Hunt County, which is the blue, and in Kaufman County. Those are 3.5, let's just say 4 months of inventory, and 5.5 for Hunt. And somewhere in between is Henderson County with 8.8 months of inventory. Any amount of the healthy number of months of inventory is between 1 and 3. This is the seller's market, where the sellers can dictate the prices to the buyers. From 3 to 4, it's a balanced market when nobody can dictate the prices to one another. And then 4 plus is a buyer's market, where now the buyers dictate the prices to the builders. So as you can see, Kaufman County is performing the best. In this case, Hunt County is performing second best. And then Navarro and Henderson are basically, the builders are really oppressed, more to say, by the will of the buyers in those counties. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at homes for sale. So this is our inventory of currently unsold homes. We see that Kaufman County, despite having the smallest months of inventory, Kaufman County actually had the highest number of homes for sale, new construction homes for sale at this particular moment, followed by Hunt County, followed by Henderson, and followed by Navarro. So what we can tell from this is that if you're trying to build and you're looking at, let's just say, Kaufman County, the price performance is pretty predictable so far. Months of supply are fairly low, which means that there's still enough demand to sell those homes, but you do have a lot of competition that you need to figure out how you're going to outplay your competition. At the same time, when you're in Navarro County, or let's just say in Henderson County, you may not have as much competition. You may only have like 63 houses competing with you for sale in Navarro, or only 150 in Henderson. But again, if we take a look at the closed sale, which is the demand part of the equation, we see that both Navarro and, take a look at this. Let's just look at this. In Navarro County, 63 homes for sale. Henderson, 150 for sale. Look at their demand. Navarro, 8 homes sold. Henderson, 13 homes sold. Now you see why there's so many days in the market and months of inventory for these two counties. Comparably, or in comparison, the best performance is Kaufman County, not surprising. Remember that they had the lowest number of months of inventory. So even though they have the highest number of unsold homes, they also have the highest number of sold homes, which is 165 at this time. So overall, if you were to build a house, I would say if you were to choose between these 3 counties, building a house in Kaufman County is probably the safest bet. And now, last but not least, let's take a look at how much the builders are getting for their efforts. And 100% is right here. No county is getting 100%. Now, it's on average. Doesn't mean that every house will sell that way. It's just a median. But nevertheless, let's take a look. As of right now, you might be expected to get anywhere between 93 and 97% of your price. So when you're building, or when you're calculating your future profit, please remember that you might have to go anywhere between 3 to almost 7% price reduction before you're able to net a contract on the property. That's not counting the builder bonus, the realtor bonuses, and that's not counting the any kind of bonuses that you throw at the buyers in order to secure a sale. So this was the review of Hunt, Navarro, Kaufman, and Henderson County. Let's go ahead and do Johnson County. Go ahead, Ellis County. No, let's do Parker next. Ellis County. And then what else is left? Give me just 1 second. And Wise. Let's take a look at Wise County. Okay, let's take a look at our sales. On the sales side, we see that the smoothest price performance, smoothest means very few surprises, came from the Ellis County right here. Another smooth, surprisingly smooth performance was from the Parker County. It was not necessarily a very good performance because it looks like we're going slightly down in Parker, but nevertheless, it was less unpredictable than in some other markets. Now, this is our January, February of 2024. What's interesting is that in terms of price, we see that Parker County had an overall good year. If we were to create a single line and kind of join all these hills and valleys, we would see an almost really nice curve right here, like a standard deviation curve. So it's not too bad. Another good performance overall can be observed from Wise County. So notice that we're starting Wise County here, and then we're slightly going up and then finishing the year pretty strong, actually. So Wise County was not too bad. What the performance that seems to be okay, let's take a look at our Ellis County. Ellis County performance is also not too bad, although much more muted than Parker or Wise. And what we're observing is that we started slow, went up just a little bit, at a much more muted up like hill, and then we continue to stay fairly steady. So I would say that these three counties are performing the best. The one that is really struggling seems to be Johnson County, because in the Johnson County, if we're starting, would you say from January, we had a very tiny hill right here in May, and then we went down. So overall trajectory was slightly down from last year for Johnson County. That's on price. Let's take a look at our months of supply real quick. 1 second. So on the months of supply, what we're seeing is that the healthiest months of supply is in Wise County. They're already in a buyer's territory, but not as severely as, for example, Johnson County. So Johnson County seems to have a very hard year so far with unsold homes, followed by Parker, and then Ellis and Wise seem to be a little bit healthier in comparison. So let's take a look at homes for sale, just so we can separate those into real numbers. So supply, the supply seems to be the highest in Johnson and in Ellis County, followed by Parker and then followed by Wise. Now, please notice that if we look at the beginning of the year, start of the year, we see that, for example, in Wise County, which is this gray one, we saw almost no increase. So the inventory held extremely steady in Wise County, but not in, let's just say, Parker. If we look at the performance of Parker in terms of homes for sale, we can see that Parker inventory actually went down during 2024, which maybe allowed it to have a little bit healthier environment in terms of unsold homes or days in market. Now, Ellis County and Johnson County did have a quite a building boom right there. And we can see it here that they are definitely above the pack or outside of the pack of the rest. Now, let's look at supply. Let's look at demand for these counties. The highest demand of all counties was actually Ellis County. The second highest was Johnson, and then the lowest demand was in Wise. Now, let's take a look at the supply and demand on the demand side on our trajectory. So we started the year, this is our year, 2024. We started the year pretty low. The Wise County, just like it had a muted supply performance, it had a very muted demand performance as well, which tells me that in the Wise County, we just don't have that much of a movement. The highest increase on like month-to-month performance probably was observed in these two counties. We have the Ellis County. Look, from January to March, we're pretty much tripled. Same here. A little bit more muted in Johnson County. In Johnson County, we had kind of like a false start in February, and it went quiet again, and it didn't really reach its full potential until June, unlike, for example, Parker. So we can say that Johnson County is performing well on demand, but the demand there seems to be more gradual rather than spiking, like, for example, in Ellis County or in Parker County. Which also may just depend on when the land became available, when the permits were, finished, and just overall the completion of work. But that's all we cannot guess that. We can only see the closed sales. Okay. Last but not least, let's take a look at our percent of original price. Again, we are not at 100% in any of the counties right now, but what we can count on is actually a little bit healthier than we've seen in the previous batch of counties. We can count on anywhere between 98 and 95% of the asking price to actually materialize in a contract. So what I would say that if you're trying to calculate your future profit, just take off anywhere between 3 to 5% of what you think you're going to make, and you're probably going to be more realistic in the figure that you're going to end up with. That is it for Johnson, Parker, Ellis, and Wise County. The only thing that we have not reviewed is Grayson County. So let's take a look at our Grayson County. On the prices, so this is the beginning of the year, the prices in Grayson County really spiked. So we went from 350 to 450, 100K. Now, that doesn't mean that the price just magically went up. It means that more expensive homes were built and sold during this year. But then we see that at the top it was to 450, and then we're back to 394. So, which is predictable during full months, nothing strange about that. But we're seeing that an overall trajectory was very healthy trajectory compared to some other county that we've seen. Let's take a look at months of supply. Months of supply is currently at 6.7, which is kind of bad, but not as bad as some of the other counties that we've seen that were at 8 and 10, for example. But it is still a significant number of unsold homes. Let's take a look. This is our supply side of how much inventory we have actually sitting on the ground, and that is almost 400 unsold homes in August and about 375 unsold homes in October, compared to 65. No, let's find August. Compared to 58 sold closed properties in August and only 64 in October. See the difference? 400 versus 60. So just to see how much competition there is. So if you're going to build in Grayson County, you need to understand that there might be 400 competitors, and only out of 400 competitors, only 60 or so will end up being under contract, and you need to figure out how to attract buyers in face of such fierce competition. So percent of the original price, ooh, that doesn't look too good. So our best price for the year was actually the beginning of the year, which is February and March. Notice that during the summer and the fall, it went down from 98 to 90. So the builders are really struggling. The builders are really cutting prices in order to secure a sale. So if you're planning to build in Grayson County, please be aware that whatever you think you're going to make, take 10% of that price and remove it and pretend that you had to make a 10% price cut in order to sell, and you will probably be a little bit closer to the actual profit from that sale, whether or not you can materialize a profit. That is it for now for the review of 15 counties in North Texas. If you have questions about specific cities, so for example, if you have property in Chrome that you want to build in, or maybe you have property around Burleson, whatever you have, if you want to, we can go further. Like if I wanted to look at Chrome versus Burleson and decide whether I want to build in Chrome versus, let's just say, Burleson, I could take a look at that data and kind of unpack it if that was my intent. Okay, thank you so much. My name is Elena Garrett, and I'm a realtor in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas. I'm with Keller Williams Central in Richardson. I am available at 469-371-4961. Feel free to contact me at any time. Stay safe for the holidays and happy building.